Ahead tonight, a ruling handed down on the Baha Mar winding up petition.
Find out how Baha Mar's winding up petition impacts businesses.
And today marks the anniversary of the downtown straw market fire. The Bahamas Tonight, the National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
Justice Ian Winder hands down a landmark ruling in the Supreme Court on Baha Mar. Good evening, everyone. I'm Charisma Robinson.
And I'm Chris Saunders. Thank you so much for joining us. The winding up petition filed by the Attorney General's office on behalf of the government has been the center of arguments between attorneys representing Baha Mar, China Export-Import Bank, China Construction America, and the government. But in a lengthy and thorough ruling by Justice Winder today, he made it clear that too much was at stake and it's time for resolution. Clint Watson joins us live with the decision. Clint, it's been terribly a long day, especially with this protracted winding up process.
Chris, you're correct about that. Supreme Court Justice Ian Winder has ordered the winding up of Baha Mar and the appointment of joint provisional liquidators, but he's also echoing a similar sentiment that we've heard throughout this entire process.
And he is given power to promote a scheme of arrangement, which is the power to see if everyone can't do what all of these judges have been telling them to do, which is sit down, talk, and get it open.
Justice Winder did not accept the public's interest as a reason for the appointment of joint provisional liquidators, but attorney on the government side for the gaming board, Wayne Munro, says the public's interest will still be served if the resort is opened and thousands employed.
The mandate, if you would have heard the directions, is to work it out before the 4th of November, because that's the hearing date of the petition.
Justice Winder was clear in his ruling that it was regrettable that the parties were not able to resolve their differences, resulting in his decision to appoint liquidators. He says the respondents, identified in court as a Baha Mar group of companies, could not continue to trade unsupervised. On November 4th, the judge will hear the petition for provisional liquidators to begin liquidating the group of companies.
Liquidation is about realizing assets, paying debts, and a part of the realization of assets will be you have hotels, get them open, because that's the only way it will happen. It may come down, if they haven't resolved it, to simply selling them to different persons, either as a whole, you could sell it as a whole, or as parts. The one thing that got lost in the mix is the golf course is actually a joint venture company supposed to be between them and the Bahamian people, and that got lost in the shuffle. But the Bahamian people have an equity interest in this golf course. And so the issue is going to be getting the thing finished and open.
And that will happen either on agreement or liquidation. The only difference will be timing. Munro says it's time to get past personalities.
I don't think it's appropriate for a developer to be talking in such personal terms about the government. To me, it's disrespectful. But then I'm an old-fashioned person. But at some point, you put aside yourself and you try to see what you can do to salvage, if you have 800, 900 million in it, as much of that as possible, and how you could not damage a country who invited you in, who was offering you $1.4 billion in concession, where your whole project is worth $3.6 billion. We, the people, were giving $1.4 billion in concessions. You try not to injure that. And hopefully it can still be amicably resolved. That's the best solution.
Baha Mar is not commenting on the ruling. Spokesman Robert Siegfried says they're focusing on the reorganization process in Chapter 11 bankruptcy court in the U.S.
We are the only party that has a plan to open Baha Mar up open as soon as possible that is on the table.
Liz, what you don't think that will happen?
We're not commenting on the decision. We're focused on our plan of reorganization.
Will you be appealing the...
I'm not commenting.
Now, the judge was clear that the joint provisional liquidators will have extremely limited power, and he will ensure the process runs a short course, as it is an expensive undertaking. Now, in a statement late this evening, Baha-Mar said the ruling scheduling the winding up petition 2 months from now provides Baha-Mar with further time to move forward with its efforts to resolve issues so that it can complete construction properly and open successfully as soon as possible. Baha-Mar says today has been an important day for Baha-Mar, one that gives them further confidence that they will succeed in their efforts. Baha-Mar says they are pleased that in making its ruling, the Bahamian Supreme Court has made it quite clear that the present intention is to not have Baha-Mar liquidated or its management replaced. The company's statement says it is confident that Baha-Mar will succeed and that the provisional liquidator will not only confirm that Baha-Mar is not wasting assets, but that Baha-Mar has designed the most expeditious path to move forward with the completion of the project. Now, Baha-Mar noted that with the distraction of this proceeding behind it, they can focus on the task at hand. Baha-Mar is 97% complete. The Chapter 11 process is underway. Baha-Mar has developed a plan of reorganization under the Chapter 11 process. This plan is now before the U.S. court. They believe the plan is the best alternative, outlining that it is designed to enable Baha-Mar to have a sound financial structure and to put Baha-Mar in a position from which it can move forward to be completed properly and open. The plan, in their view, effectively addresses Baha-Mar's creditor obligations, including paying in full all valid claims of Bahamian creditors and the government of the Bahamas. Now, wrapping up the statement, Baha-Mar says they expect the provisional liquidator to work alongside them for the best interests of Baha-Mar and the Bahamas. Live in the newsroom, I'm Clint Watson.
Well, this afternoon, Supreme Court Justice Winder approved government's proposed joint provisional liquidators for the stalled multi-billion-dollar Baha-Mar project. 3 professionals, one from KRYS Global and 2 from Alex Partners UK, were approved. In court, government attorney Peter Knox QC argued that the professionals are unchallenged as none of them were opposed by creditors. Government previously proposed provisional liquidators from Ernst & Young, but a conflict of interest arose as they were listed as creditors. Following Justice Winder's decision today, the court moved to discuss the Winding Up Act and argued over the extent of the power of the provisional liquidators. November 2nd is the next hearing date. A business with an investment in the Baha-Mar resort is reacting to Justice Winder's approval of government's Winding Up petition. Cleopatra Murphy spoke with an executive of Coles of Nassau and several members of the public on their views as to what will happen next.
General Merchandising Manager for Coles of Nassau, Tara Morley-Nolan, says Justice Ian Winder's decision to approve government's Winding Up petition and appoint provisional liquidators for Baha-Mar has led to more uncertainty than when the property filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in June.
It's unclear who we're going to be dealing with in the future. Obviously, we signed a lease agreement and one party was in charge of the development. And now with the liquidation, it's unclear who's going to be managing that development moving forward and whether or not their vision is going to be on the same page as Mr. Ismerlian's.
Coles of Nassau has leases for 2 stores in the Baha-Mar resort, and with an investment of that size, they would like to see the project move forward. Morley-Nolan says she is hesitant and unsure if this is the best outcome for the Bahamas. She says it is still unclear how this will speed up the resort's opening.
Still remain on the same board as the Chamber of Commerce, who's been lobbying for settled negotiation and potentially bringing in a mediator.
Government officials have said liquidators would manage the property's assets and move to get the resort opened sooner. Some residents, however, are skeptical of Winder's decision and if it will have the desired result.
I have mixed views. Firstly, I would have to know who's the liquidator first, because we don't want it to be another delay with them approving someone new.
It sounds like a good idea, but hey, they could be bigger procrastinators than the team that is actually in state now with managing Baha-Mar.
Others had a different view. They just want to see the stalled project opened, and if provisional liquidators will get that done, they fully support it.
The Supreme Court decision, I support. Okay? The government is doing a great job when it comes to Baha-Mar. All they are trying to do is get it open, put the Bahamian people to work.
If they could find a good managing company or persons who can run it and know what they're doing, no problem.
I think it'll be a faster process if the Supreme Court actually do it, because as it stands right now, a lot of people are out of job.
thumbs up for the government. You know, next step, come on, open it up, let these people get a chance to do their work.
A provisional liquidator has yet to be named. That decision is expected to be made when parties return to court on November 4th. Cleopatra Murphy, ZNS Network News.
Attorney for the government, Wayne Monroe, joins us live in studio tonight to explain really what this liquidation process is and what this means for the future of the multi-billion-dollar Baha Mar project. First, Mr. Monroe, just for full disclosure, you're representing the government and you're also representing the gaming board in this action. First, let's talk about what power of liquidation. What does this mean? Does this mean that I can go in and say I want to buy this couch, or is it more broad? What will the liquidators really have?
Well, it's not a liquidation at this moment. It's at the point of a provisional liquidator and they have been appointed joint provisional liquidators. They were appointed today, so that's not what's for the 4th. And the charge of that two groups of persons is to prevent dissipation of assets and to see if they can promote a scheme of arrangements by talking to the developer, the lender, the construction company, to get to the point where construction can be completed and the resort can open. If that does not work, on the 4th of November, we'll have the hearing as to whether or not the companies are liquidated.
When we get to that point, or if we even get to that point of liquidation, what does that mean?
Well, that would mean that the official liquidator would be seeking to realize assets to pay liabilities, in short, trying to get money's value to pay the people who are owed by the project. The thing to stress is that the government's position has always been that it is seeking to do what it wishes, what it needs to do to get the project finished. That is completely in the hands of the developer, the hands of the bank, the hands of the construction company. You now have an independent group of accountants and managers in, and nobody can complain about anybody taking anybody's side. And it's a simple matter of, if you are serious, settle down and get it done.
When you talk about getting serious and getting settled and get it done, I think you overheard the statement today by Baha Mar. Do you think that this means that they are willing to try to get this going before November 4th and that actual liquidation hearing?
The part of their statement that I heard is disappointing. Instead of focusing on the Chapter 11 proceedings, they should be focusing on settlement. Judge Carey in the Delaware court, when he was told that they were focusing on litigation, said that was unfortunate. They should focus on settling it. And the sooner they do that, the better. Our courts have already ruled that we will not recognize the proceeding. Judge Carey in Delaware says he completely understands that to be the law. And so the fact that they're spending their energy in Delaware and not in the Bahamas, where the actual resort is located, is troubling.
Real quick, does this sort of indicate that Chapter 11 is the way that they are going to continue to pursue, regardless of Judge Carey's ruling and in light of today's Justice Winder's ruling?
They have told us where they're putting their energy, where they're putting their resources. They need to put their resources in meeting with the other stakeholders and getting this finished. This needs to be not about one man, but about the 5,000 Bahamians who he committed in this project to employ when it opens. Not about one individual, but 5,000.
All right, thanks a lot. Wayne Monroe joining us live tonight as we get through this Baha Mar debacle. Thank you very much.
Several senior high school students giving their expectations for the new academic school year. I'll tell you more coming up in the Bahamas tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by the new Shell & Letty, designed for extra miles.